How's everyone doing? Today I'm going to be doing a video showing you my horror Blu-ray Steelbook collection. And if you've seen any of these movies, definitely let me know what you think of them. And if you have any recommendations for horror Blu-ray Steelbooks for me to pick up, definitely let me know. But here we go. Here is the Steelbook collection. There's one shelf there, and then down at the bottom. Now you can see there's some gaps because I just separated all the horror Blu-ray Steelbooks so they can have their own section. I'm going to keep them that way because I do have all the horror Blu-rays separated, all the horror DVDs separated as well. But let's go ahead and get into it. First up is the Everything Blue Pick series, and this is for the Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's basically the Arrow Video Steelbook with an outer slipcase. As you can see, there's the Steelbook inside for Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and they redesigned it, the outer packaging right there, which I think looks awesome. The newly commissioned artwork. You can see the embossing on there. And I think it's really cool. It comes with that card there too, with the cotton candy cocoon, which is like a felt feel to it. And I just think that's really neat looking. And I'm going to include that in the Steelbook collection right here because it does have the Arrow Video Steelbook in there. And I hope to see them do more releases like that, the Everything Blue. And here is the Killer Clowns from Outer Space Steelbook right there. And absolutely love this movie. Just crazy, hilarious. I love the scene where they're delivering the pizza, and then the shadow puppet as well, and knock your block off. Just so many hilarious moments in here. And I have to say, this one did creep me out when I was a kid, but I just appreciate it for the just cheese fest that it is. It's pure entertainment right there. Horror cheese at its best. And next up is Blood and Black Lace from Mario Bava. And I like how you can see the writing right there. You turn it a certain way, the title. So I dig that. And next up is Audition from Takashi Miike. Always love that movie, especially the ending. And then we've got Zombie Flesh Eaters, which I think this is out of print and goes for a decent price. I love the orange steelbook right there. There's not too many orange ones. And Lucio Fulci's Zombie. I remember just being fascinated with that movie when I was a kid. The eye scene, the zombie shark fight scene, just so many classic moments in it. Just a all-time classic zombie film. Next up is my favorite Dario Argento film, that is Phenomena. And this one has everything going on. A young Jennifer Connelly who can control insects. You've got a crazy mutated kid who's trying to kill people, a crazy mother, a monkey wielding a razor blade, and you've got Donald Pleasance in here as well. Just a great cast, and then the score is just phenomenal. I love the Valley song too. And Life Force from Tobe Hooper, basically vampires from outer space, and the main chick in here was so hot. Patrick Stewart's in there too, great cast in general. Next up is The Pit and the Pendulum, Edgar Allan Poe adaptation. And I love that horizontal steelbook design right there, and the artwork on the back too. And these ones are all Arrow Video releases right here that I've been showing you. And next up is Theater of Blood with Vincent Price. And I love all of his characters in here that he does as well. Just so eccentric and over the top. Classic Vincent Price right there. Next up is White of the Eye. I love that artwork for it too. And here are a few Shaun of the Dead steelbooks that I have. There's that one right there. Now it's a little bit basic. That's one of the Canadian ones, but still very cool. And then that one again, the horizontal design. I absolutely love this one. Debossed title, and there it is on the back too. Great Zomcom, one of the all-time classic Zomcoms actually. And then this is the Mondo steelbook, which is fantastic artwork on that. I would have liked a little bit more on the back, but still very cool. And here is the Mondo version of The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing is my all-time favorite movie, but I'm not a huge fan of this artwork. It just looks like a Groot from Guardians of the Galaxy, but like an ice version. So it's like Ice Groot right there. And they could have done more with the back as well. There's really nothing on the back. So there's a little bit of interior artwork, but still, I wish they would have done more with it. I think Mondo is just overrated. They only have a few great steelbooks. The rest are kind of basic in their design, but here's another John Carpenter one. This is German, Das Ding. I'm a big fan of the movie. Obviously, it's my all-time favorite, so I collect anything I can find for it. And this is an amazing one. I know a lot of people didn't like this one. I believe this is out of print and goes for a decent amount of money too. But I think this was the Play.com exclusive, and the title is debossed. And I just think it's a unique look. And it's got the classic glow face design on the back. And then you've got Godzilla. I mean, it's a monster movie, so I'll put it on there. I love this one. You've got the embossed tail right there in the front, and then you've got the noise. So that's just super cool to me. And some of these are metal packs, like that's, I guess, a metal pack, but I'll include them in there. It's the same type of idea. It's just a slight difference with the spine. The Witch, which I think is a modern horror classic, one of the best witch movies ever. And there's Black Phillip on the back. This was a Canadian exclusive. And next up is 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I absolutely love this one. I think they could have done a little bit more with the design for it, but I still dig it. It's very kind of basic, but fitting as well. And John Goodman just killed it. And I love the ending to it. Such an intense performance from him. It Follows, which I love the design for this steelbook. I think that's just amazing. And this movie, again, is probably one of the better horror movies in the past few years also. I think it's a modern classic. Just everything about it. The concept is unique, which is rare. It's kind of like a slasher-esque, almost John Carpenter-esque for some of the cinematography and shots. And the score is phenomenal, like mind-blowingly phenomenal. And great acting. And just, I like that concept a lot. Purge Anarchy, which I liked a lot better than the original. The first Purge movie I wasn't a big fan of. And Lords of Salem, this is another great witch movie, and I was absolutely loving this one. I was considering this one an all-time classic up until like the last 20 minutes. It just kind of fell apart for me. But still a very enjoyable movie overall. Rob Zombie film. And next up we've got Attack the Block, which does have enough horror elements for me to consider it horror. Basically, aliens come down and they're over in England, and a bunch of kids who are... They start out, it's kind of an evolution of them too. They start off being, you know, delinquents essentially, and then they, you know, save their block. So that's pretty cool. And this stars Nick Frost and John Boyega right there. This was, of course, before he got really famous from Star Wars The Force Awakens, but he was great in this role, and I could tell from that he would be a big star, and deservedly so. And I do have the clear steelbook protector case on this one. I don't usually put those on there. I know some people are all crazy about it. As long as you're not jamming them back and forth, you shouldn't cause any damage to the steelbooks. I've been collecting steelbooks for a long time now and never had any damage because of that. But, you know, some people are a little bit OCD, and I only kept it on here because the person that I got this from sent it on here like this, so I just decided to keep it on. But I'm not big on those clear protective case things. It doesn't really affect it, anything like that. I mean, again, as long as you handle them normally, there shouldn't be any damage. And I like the look to the creatures in there too. Very good movie. I definitely recommend it. I Am Legend, which it's mind-blowing to me that some people don't consider this horror. This is absolutely horror. Like, how is it not? It's, you know, deformed, mutated, infected people who are trying to kill you. They're not zombies, they're infected people. And for me, this is the best adaptation from Richard Matheson's novel I Am Legend. Again, Omega Man was just too dated, and the one with Vincent Price, Last Man on Earth, was just so slow and just not scary at all to me. I love Vincent Price, but that movie to me just doesn't live up to the hype. This is by far the best adaptation in my opinion, and the scene with the dog always gets me. Great effects in there, big fan of Will Smith, and just tense, palpable. Again, the ending, I don't love the ending, but still, it works for me enough. The film overall is fantastic, and it's just palpable all throughout, just very intense and thrilling. Next up is Event Horizon, great sci-fi horror. Just the psychological horror elements in here, just super trippy and creepy, and just some crazy scenes in there. Next up are some of the Resident Evil steelbooks. We've got Afterlife, Extinction, Apocalypse, and then the first one. The first one's my favorite. The second one will be my next favorite. And then for me, they kind of progressively get worse. Although I really did enjoy the animated one, the CG animated one. But that was one of the better ones in the series. Next up is Daybreakers. This is another metal pack one. I think this is a Dutch one. And love the heck out of that film. Great sci-fi horror movie. And an interesting take on the vampire genre. Psycho. Classic right there. And I think the matte finish works well on it, and again, the horizontal design makes it stand out. Zombieland, probably one of the better recent zom-coms out there. And Doom, which I consider horror. It's horror, sci-fi, action. You know, there's a lot of horror action kind of movies coming out, but I'd put that in there. And this was a great video game adaptation for me, and I really like The Rock, and actually the whole cast in here. Carl Urban, and you've got the chick from Gone Girl in here too, Rosamund Pike, and a bunch of other recognizable people, and they all did their roles just perfectly. And we've got Underworld: The Awakening. This was a Best Buy exclusive. And the Resident Evil ones, I think they were all, I can't remember if they were Walmart exclusive or Target exclusive. I think they were Walmart exclusives. And then we've got From Dusk Till Dawn. This is the Canadian one. Love the heck out of this film. And I always think of Quentin Tarantino and his foot fetish with Selma Hayek. And that scene, I wonder how many takes he wanted for that. And Drag Me to Hell, which I need to revisit this one. I didn't love it when I first watched it. I thought it was just too goofy and too over the top. It was like Looney Tunes almost. But I need to give it another chance before I make my final decision on it. And Pan's Labyrinth, which I would consider like fantasy horror. And Guillermo del Toro is just a master. Devil's Backbone is probably my favorite Guillermo del Toro film. Let me know what your favorite Guillermo del Toro film is. Next up is, this is one of my favorite steelbooks out there, although it's a metal pack. It's Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And I love this one. And it's a great Halloween movie. And there's a bunch of these Halloween lenticular metal packs from Germany. Next up is Infestation, which is a great sci-fi horror comedy movie. I did a full review for this a long time ago. Ray Wise was great in there, the whole cast too. I just didn't like the way that one ended though. They set it up for a sequel, and who knows if there'll ever be a sequel for it. The recent Wolfman adaptation with Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins and Hugo Weaving and Emily Blunt, which I thought was decent. Next up is Return of the Living Dead, which is a great horror comedy. I love the punk soundtrack. One of my all-time favorite movies, a zombie classic. And this is the UK steelbook of it, which is actually playable in Region A. That was one of the things where it said Region B, but if you press, like, I think the enter button or the menu button when you first pop it in, it'll be available to play. And this comes with the More Brains, which was a whole special documentary single standalone release over here in the US. So the fact that comes with that is a huge bonus. And really, to me, this makes it the best edition of the film. I know Scream Factory recently released the edition for it too. But again, that's a steelbook. Love the classic artwork. Just everything about it works. And again, all the special features in there. The Fly, this is the original. And I love that cover right there. Just super cool. And next up is The Woman, which this one was so intense. Absolutely love it. Love the ending to it as well. From Lucky McKee, an adaptation from Jack Ketchum. And that is the German release. Next up is the Basket Case Trilogy. Frank Henenlotter's classic right there. The first one is just, again, I love it. The second one, The third one, it's just over the top and goofy, and I enjoyed that third one. The second one, though, kind of do without. In fact, each movie they do kind of like flashbacks from the previous movie, so it works. Next up is 28 Days Later. Love this one. One of my favorite horror movies now. This is definitely a modern classic. It's an infected film, not a zombie film. There is a big difference. Zombies are coming back from the dead. These are people who are infected, and they're trying to kill people, but they're not zombies. And they have the rage virus. And I wish 28 Weeks Later was a Region A compatible steelbook release, but it's not for some reason. And Predator. Again, I would consider this horror action. Classic right there. Get to the chopper. And Monsters. I love that again. Great sci-fi horror. This, to me, harkens back to like classic sci-fi creature feature, giant monsters and stuff like that. And I love the horizontal design. Kind of like the warning symbol right there. And then next up is The Last Exorcism, which I love the heck out of this one. And it's a kind of a cool red border right there at the top. And to me, this was a classic too. I know a lot of people weren't big fans of it, but I loved it. I love the ending to it as well. Kind of like Rosemary's Baby-esque in a way. And I haven't seen the sequel yet, but I'm going to be checking that out soon. And then here we go on to this shelf. American Werewolf in London, which again, I love the horizontal design. And I was able to get this signed up right there from David Naughton. Love that one. Just probably the best werewolf movie ever. It's going to be hard to ever top that one. Dog Soldiers would probably be number 2 for me. Let me know what your favorite werewolf movie is. Next up is Cloverfield, which I was able to get signed up by TJ Miller. You can see that in the silver Sharpie. He played the lead character HUD, which most of the time you couldn't see him because he was the one holding the camera. But I saw him do live stand-up comedy, and holy moly, that was the craziest stand-up act I've ever seen, or performance-wise, ever. He was on all kinds of stuff. Clearly, he was super hyper and crazy, and then he broke his glass on stage, and there's shards of glass everywhere. And then he kept having Red Bulls and vodka, and he put some of the shards of glass into his next drink and drank out of it. And then you could smell the cloud of weed coming out of the green room at the end when he went in the green room. And he didn't meet anybody else but me. Actually, I just waited out, and one of the opening acts was there. I was like, hey, you think he could come out and sign this for me? And he did come out after a while. And the people that worked there was like, no, I don't think he's going to come out. I think he's acting crazy. But yeah, that performance was nuts. But he was super nice when he came out. And he was just, I guess, he was smoking that trees and chilled him out some. Saw, the 10th anniversary edition, director's cut right here. Beautiful red steelbook from Germany. Love that cover. I'm not a huge fan of the franchise overall. I do enjoy the first one, even though it is somewhat flawed. But I really liked what it did and very influential. After Saw 3, they just went super downhill. And I know they're going to make some more. Again, of course, it's money. The Others, which is a classic ghost movie for me. Absolutely love this one. Next up is another one of my all-time favorite horror movies. This is a modern one, 30 Days of Night. And again, I've talked about this one so many times before. I gotta take this off of here so you can get a better look at it. There we go. I was gonna do an unboxing video for this, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. But it's the classic poster artwork for it. And there's the back. And there's some really cool DVD steelbooks for it, which I think actually have better artwork. But for me, I love the heck out of this movie. I love vampires in Alaska with a snowy setting. The blood really pops on the white snow. And just the concept of it with vampires in Alaska where there's 30 days of night that really utilizes their full potential of not being in the sunlight. And it's just bloody, intense, and palpable. I love the heck out of this one. And I love the ending to this one too, especially the fact that they didn't cop out for a happy Hollywood ending. And next up is War of the Worlds. This is the Steven Spielberg adaptation right there with Tom Cruise. I really love the scene where they're hiding out in Tim Robbins' basement. And again, a great sci-fi horror right there. And The Frighteners, love that look to it right there, the cover that they chose for it. Classic artwork, and it really works well. The Frighteners, Michael J. Fox, and that horizontal steelbook again. And next up is Chernobyl Diaries. This is one that grew on me. When I first watched it, I wasn't a big fan, and then I watched it a couple more times, and I really enjoyed it. Very creepy and atmospheric. Next up is Devil. I thought this one had a lot of great atmosphere as well. And I like that you can see the people's faces right there in the elevator door. And I think M. Night Shyamalan is a great storyteller. Not all of his films are excellent. And he wrote the story here that this film was adapted from. And I thought it was a great job. And all of his films have that kind of storytelling feel to it, like a crazy bedtime story that'll kind of keep you up at night. And I dig that. And Land of the Dead, which I was able to get signed up by John Leguizamo. I saw him do live stand-up over by me as well, and he was super nice. And that signature just pops, looks fantastic on there. And I really do enjoy this one too. And I like the zombies and how they're learning and all that too. And Dennis Hopper was great. John Leguizamo was great. Next up is Frailty, which is another Dutch metal pack with Matthew McConaughey and Bill Paxton. I feel like this one is super underrated. God's Hand Killer, just super creepy, great atmosphere. I love the psychological elements to it. Next up is Eden Lake, which is another Dutch metal pack. One of my favorite horror movies ever now. Just super brutal. Again, I love that they didn't cop out for the Hollywood happy ending. It just stays on your mind long after viewing. Just brutal and fantastic. Great casting here as well. Michael Fassbender, Kelly Riley. They play their parts just perfectly. Love Kelly Riley in there. I love kind of like the backwoods, kind of towny aspect to it where they kind of keep to their own, police to their own, and all that kind of stuff. And I think things like that might actually happen, you know, with just the craziness of it, or at least back in the day it probably did. more difficult to get away with that kind of stuff now, and just, you know, how crazy the kids were. I love that final shot of the movie too. And I found one more horror Blu-ray Steelbook that I forgot to put in that section. I was just going through there and I happened to notice it before I finished this video, and it's Paranormal Activity 3. And I love the design to this Steelbook. Kind of the VHS look right there to it. And very fitting for the film. There's the back of it as well. I did enjoy this one. I'm not a huge fan of the franchise. I like the second one the best just because it had the most stuff going on, and this one was decent as well. I didn't care for the first one at all. I thought it was just a bunch of nothing and then like a cheap jump scare at the end. So I know I'm in the minority in that, but I thought the second one and the third one were the best so far that I've seen. And a fantastic look for that Steelbook. Great design. I wish more Steelbooks would have designs that fit the film like that. And this is the German release, and they did a great job with it. But that is the last of my horror Blu-ray Steelbooks right there. There we go. I hope you guys enjoyed. And again, let me know if you've seen any of these movies and what you think of them. And if you have any horror Blu-ray Steelbook recommendations for me to pick up. And I hope you guys enjoyed my horror Blu-ray Steelbook collection video. Hope everybody's doing well. Take care.